and players mobbing.
But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jayson Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Welcome to another edition of the Big Three NBA podcast. I'm host Sherrod Blake, joined today by a different configuration of the Big Three. We've got our stalwart in the building, Gary Washburn, columnist of the Boston Globe, and we have CLNS Media's Josue Pavon. Welcome to the Big Three NBA podcast, Josue. How you doing?
I appreciate it, fellas. Appreciate the invite. This should be fun.
Yeah, we figured since we are a Big Three and one of our Big Three, Quandy Lunis, is not able to be, I think we got a little load management going on with Quandy. You know, it's a long season, and Quandy needs to get some rest. Mind you, she's the youngest one on the team, but that's another story altogether. But she did a little bit. But we got Josue in the building. We're going to be talking a lot about the in-season tournament, which the Celtics are going to be a part of. Before we get too deep into the podcast, I want to give a special shout-out to our good friends at INDY.com, HelloFresh, and FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Sign up now at FanDuel.com/Boston. And new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. Now, again, when you get a chance, definitely download this podcast. It's available on all your different podcast apps. Subscribe and give us the gift that never gets old or moldy, and that's a 5-star review before you leave. Now, we're just going to jump right into things. Celtics with the win over the Philadelphia 76ers the other night, 125-119. Boston now moves on to the in-season tournament where they will be playing the Indiana Pacers on Monday in the knockout round. Josue, my man, what are you expecting in that first game against them?
I'm expecting a lot of what we've seen from the Celtics of late. And I'm talking about the good version of the Celtics, right? The second half, fourth quarter, whatever you want to call it, whenever they reach to the point where they're like, okay, we have to stop messing around and get this W. And I think that's going to come in a big way against this Pacers team because I think they're really into this now. I think they're into the in-season tournament now. I mean, obviously, everyone was kind of trying to figure out what it's really about and, you know, the fans and everything. But I think because of they advance to the next round, I think the fan base is behind them. And I think that's the same thing for all the teams across the league, right? A lot of their fans are now into this thing because it's down to single game elimination. It's exciting now. And I think we're going to get a competitive game. So, yeah, look, the way the Indiana Pacers have been playing lately, you know, Halliburton and, you know, we're going to wait and see which version of Buddy Hield shows up because I think that's very important for the Pacers. We could really have a, you know, down to the wire nail biter. And I still like the Celtics' chances of winning, though. You know, I think it's going to be it won't be easy against this Pacers team, even though the last time these two teams met, it was the biggest blowout I've ever been a part of as a member of the media. So, but I don't think we're going to see that version of the Pacers this time.
Yeah, and Gary, I wanted you to touch on that the blowout dynamic, which is obviously something that the Pacers, they ain't forgot about. I mean, when you get that ass whipped like that, you don't forget about that anytime.
Yeah, for real.
How much of a factor, Gary, do you think that's going to be in terms of motivation, focus, all those type of intangible things that we talk about when you're seeing a team for the second or third or fourth time?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big-time motivator for the Pacers. And remember, in that game, Tyrese Halliburton did not play. So you're talking about they haven't faced him this year. He is playing at an all-star level, putting up the big numbers. But I watched Indiana. They play Miami again tonight. I watched another night where they had a big lead against the Heat and then just kind of gave it up in the fourth quarter. They are not a flawless team. They're a team that's not great defensively. You thought acquiring Bruce Brown along with Miles Turner and kind of a, you know, crash guy and a guy like Aaron Nesmith and some of those you would get a really strong defense, but they can give up some points. You saw that game a couple weeks ago against Atlanta where it was like 155 to 152 in regulation. I think they lost that game. So this is a team that gives up points, but they can score points with the best of them when they're on, when Buddy Hield is right, like Josue said, and you know, Halliburton is a guy who can drop 30, 35 points on that unorthodox jumper he has. You know, and you're talking about a guy like a Bruce Brown. You're talking about, you know, Nembhard, who I think is a nice player that not a lot of people talk about, and Turner. So this is a team that's dangerous, but, the Celtics should win if they play their A or B game. I mean, I don't think this is a team that's like, I think, quite honestly, they got the best matchup of possible. Like, you ain't trying to play Milwaukee yet. The Knicks, I think the Knicks are more talented than the Pacers. You don't want to play the Knicks. So this is a good matchup, for a team that, the Pacers went 4-0 in the, play-in tournament. And I think they're like 6-8 in the other game. So maybe they just about the play-in. Maybe they about that play-in life. In-season tournament life. My fault, not playing. My fault.
I'm still making that mistake.
As Gary alluded to, the Boston, Indiana winner, they'll travel to Las Vegas for, I guess, the in-season tournament final four, if you will. And they'll face the winner of the New York, Milwaukee game. And that game will be December 7th in Vegas. And then the teams that win there go into the championship. That'll be December 9th, also in Las Vegas. And as much as we want to focus, obviously, on what's happening on this side of the bracket, you got to take a minute to look at what's happening on the other side. And then you've got the Pelicans. They're playing the Sacramento Kings in one matchup out west. And then you've got, to me, the premier knockout round matchup. The Phoenix Suns against the Los Angeles Lakers. And Gary, I'm just curious. I mean, I don't know how much you've seen those four teams play, but am I a little bit – am I thinking crazy that there's one team among those four that probably doesn't seem like a logical fit to be there, and that's the Pelicans?
Yeah, but the Pelicans in their playing game beat the Nuggets, and so that kind of knocked the Nuggets out of whatever, right? So that was a weird kind of funky group there where the Pelicans ended up being kind of like the best team, and I said catching Denver on a night where they struggled, and so they ended up like taking control. I think it was like Denver, Dallas, Houston, New Orleans. I forgot the other team. I think it might have been Memphis. I forgot the other team that was in that group. I think Memphis was in the Lakers in Phoenix bracket. But New Orleans is a team that's very dangerous. And we haven't seen them a lot. They haven't done national television. I think people are kind of over the Zion, phenomena. It's like, okay, show us when you're healthy. But he's healthy. Then they got, Brandon Ingram, Valanciunas. Now C.J. McCollum is healthy. They got, Herb Jones. Trey Murphy is back. The Connecticut kid, Jordan,
Hawkins.
Jordan Hawkins, who's they say shoots like Ray Allen. He's a top 3-point rookie shooter in the league so far. So they got talent. Alvarado hasn't played much. He's been hurt. But this is a team that stacked up a bunch of guys over the last few years, made some very good drafts. We're getting Trey Murphy, getting Herb Jones, and, trading for McCollum. And now they're a team, I don't know if they're going to win. They're not going to win the West, but they're a team that's dangerous. And you catch Zion on the wrong night, that dude dropped 35 and 15 and probably 7-8 dimes. So they're a dangerous team. That Kings game with the Pelicans will be a track meet. That'll be a fun game to watch.
Absolutely. And Josue, looking at the other side of that bracket where you got Phoenix and the Lakers, they've been, I don't want to call them perennial powers, but they've been in the top tier out west for a few years now. What are you expecting to see out of that matchup?
It's interesting. The way LeBron's been playing lately, like showing that, he's aging like fine wine. I feel like this opportunity for the Lakers is LeBron's way of saying like, hey, we're still here. You know what I mean? We can still win the Western Conference. Let's face it, coming into the regular season, not a lot of people would mention the Lakers as one of the top tier teams, kind of more of a question mark as opposed to the other teams that, the top tier ones, obviously the champion Denver Nuggets. And even I feel like even the Sacramento Kings are sort of getting in some certain conversations. It's kind of like everyone's just waiting to see what the Lakers are going to look like by the middle of the season. No one's kind of giving them that benefit of the doubt. And I think LeBron's taking that personal. He wants to go out there, and I think because because this is the first year of this and everyone's sort of like, trying to, the excitement starting to build up. I think LeBron is he likes that. I think he sees that as an opportunity for them to come up big, go to the championship game in Vegas. And I think that's something that can bring this team together. So I really like the Lakers' chances in this one. It's going to be a good matchup. Like Gary just said about the Kings and Pelicans game, I think you'll get a really exciting game in this one as well. I just wonder with the Phoenix Suns, them trying to find their continuity. I know they found somewhat of that balance, or at least they got something for the fans to be confident about, right? The past 10 games, I want to say they went 7-3 or so. So they're starting to find their momentum, but I don't know. I think I like the Lakers' chances, though. I think with LeBron, the way he's been playing, I think he can galvanize these guys and let them know, hey, this isn't the NBA Finals, but, this is great, this is great practice for that type of situation way down the road in the postseason.
Well, I'd say, I think it's going to be that game. I think is going to be the best one of the four, simply because of the teams that are playing, what we're talking about at stake. And to be frank with you, of all these matchups, if you had to say one of these could be a conference finals preview, that's the only one that I feel comfortable and confident in that about. But listen, Devin Booker is a bad dude. That brother is a bad man. I feel like even though Devin Booker is a name that most people in the NBA circle certainly know about and are familiar with, it feels as though he's been kind of flying under the radar, that he's a very top-tier player, but you don't really hear his name talked about when you're speaking about the top 10, top 15 players that much. Maybe at the very tail end of that conversation. But I feel like Devin Booker is one of them dudes that sleep on him if you want to. Make the mistake and sleep on him if you want to. But I'm not going to do that. I think Phoenix will beat the Lakers. And it's hard for me to say that because forget about LeBron for a minute. Y'all already know, and Gary knows this, my dude Darvin Ham, head coach Darvin Ham, that's my guy. I love what my guy's doing with the Lakers. But in this particular situation, I think Phoenix will I think they'll be the team to prevail.
Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and so much more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
But Gary, what I wanted to talk to you about, Gary, and kind of shifting gears a little bit, I want to get back to the Boston-Indiana match. And specifically, I want to talk about Gary, your boy, Jayson Tatum. Your boy has some interesting post-game. You and him had an interesting post-game, we'll just call it banter, after they beat Philadelphia. And it became very clear, after Tatum, just for folks who, have not heard, Tatum picked up his second technical foul near the end of the third quarter. I think it was 2.6 seconds left, was ejected from the game. And Gary asked him a little bit about that in post game. And Gary, before I put words in your mouth, because I can do it with ease, I want you to explain just that interaction you guys had, just some of the things that Tatum said, in that setting.
Well, I think he was completely confused as to why he was ejected. He felt like he said he didn't say any curse words. It was just a frustrating night for Jayson, if you really honestly think about it. 7 turnovers. He just was not handling the ball well. He made some bad passes that were just kind of telegraphed. There was just a lot going on with Jayson last night. He just wasn't himself. 6 for 9 from the field. He got to the free throw line, but he missed 2 free throws. He just was not himself. 21 points. I know, in 21 points in 3 quarters, and that's not good, Jayson. That's a good sign for the Celtics because, he could drop 50 if he on any particular night. But I felt like he was just kind of like, I don't know why I got thrown out. So I asked him the last question, what'd you do when you get thrown out? What happens? Do you throw stuff? Because obviously you get tossed, even though you're maybe not upset about what happened, you're upset about getting thrown out. You're like, wait a minute, I ain't say nothing. Damn, fuck this and all that, right? So
can't play anymore, right?
yeah, like you upset, but he was just kind of just like, I wasn't freaking, effing bad. I didn't throw nothing. I just chilled, iced up, and watched the rest of the game. So throw stuff. What do you do in the minutes after you're ejected before you chill and watch the game?
Again, I wasn't that mad. Like, don't put that narrative out there. I didn't throw nothing. I said what I said. There was no magic words. I didn't cuss. Assistant coaches right there, you heard me. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want me to play tonight. They was eager to get me out of there. And I walked back calmly. I just sat in my chair, got some ice. I was not mad. I didn't throw anything. I was just like, it was like a joke. I was like, I had to laugh it off. So no, I ain't cry, I ain't throw anything. Got my ice, watched the rest of the game, watched us win, and got ready.
I think he wanted to emphasize that he was not upset that the first technical was like, okay, that was weird. And then the second one, because he basically thought that Covington fouled him when he ripped him. And then he kind of raised his hand up and hit Covington in the mouth, trying to retrieve the ball. So that was a flagrant. So it was just there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, I was like freaking out about the fact that bro had 7 turnovers in 3 quarters. That's hard.
Yeah.
7 turnovers. And so
you don't see that.
I almost think that, yeah, I mean, and just chime in on this, but it felt as though, Tatum, for whatever reason, just wasn't himself. And I don't know how much of that had to do with the fact that there was no Joel Embiid, no Tyrese Maxey. And so did he just kind of take maybe a deeper breath than he should have taken and just kind of eased more into the game than he probably should have? I don't know. What's your take on that? Why he was just so?
I think that's exactly what happened, Sherrod. Honestly, and then right. I mean, well, as the turnovers stacked up, he's getting more frustrated, and then he's thinking that he can get those calls. And you know what? He kind of did, right? Before that last technical foul, he was getting to the free throw line. And I was happy because, Mazzulla made the switch. I want to say around the 2.5 minute mark where Jalen just, I don't know, man. He was on his own Jalen Island, I call it, right? Where he was just doing his own thing, wasn't in tune with the rest of the offense. So I thought that was a great call to put Tatum in because what did he do? He did the exact opposite. Attacking the rim, got to the free throw line a couple of times. I felt like he was starting to make that switch. And then you're upset about a call, and Sherrod, we talked about this a lot on the Celtics postgame show. I get it. I get the frustration. But when the refs are huddled up like that, especially the way they were at half court, you got to give them their space, man. You can't just jump in there and just because you're not swearing, but you're doing everything else in terms of being demonstrative or trying to get your point across, you're obviously talking over people. Nobody likes that, and they already handed you a technical foul in the first quarter. And let's face it, Tatum has a history of this. Even though he's been better about it this year, I give him that. I give him credit. But when he's in that mood, when he's upset with his game, with all those turnovers and everything, he's chirping. A little bit here, a little bit there. Maybe it's not something disrespectful, but the refs don't appreciate that. And I just thought in that moment, tensions are high, and Bill Kennedy had it, but Gary, I wanted to ask you this question because you were able to talk to these guys after the game, and I'm talking about the officials. Like, what was their demeanor? Did they seem like they were sort of like still hot about what happened? Like, when they explained exactly what led to Tatum being tossed, what was their vibe like?
Billy Kitty, absolutely not. He was not upset at all. He just said, "This is par for his course."
That's true.
This is what Billy do. So I throw people out, and so he just said, Jayson, basically they told him to go back to the bench. Like, Jayson, go back to the bench. You're doing too much right now. And he wouldn't do it. Then they tossed him. And it was a second technical. It was not because he said anything in that particular instance that would have drawn ejection, but it was a second technical. If he had no technicals, he just would have gotten a technical and he would have been fine. But he got tossed because it was a second technical. So I just think Tatum needs to control. And I think it was, like you said, it was a frustrating night for him. 7 turnovers. I always think of 2 missed free throws. He just didn't seem himself. Right? You thought, no Embiid, no Maxey, it's Jayson time, 35, 38, 39 points,
right.
12 boards, 8 assists, 7 threes. You just thought it was going to be Jayson takeover night. And It wasn't. And, he struggled, and he's had 17 turnovers in the last 3 games. So he's just he's on a turnover binge right now, and Jalen, as much as he was shaky, he only had 3, and then Jalen, I think is still trying to figure things out, and still, he airballed 2 threes before he hit one kind of an important one in the left corner in the second half. So neither of those 2 guys are playing at their best, and they're still winning. So that's a good sign.
They are.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the best sign for sure. Well, I was just gonna say real quick also though, let's be honest, man. Like it doesn't happen often when you see Tatum frustrated and upset and yelling the way he was after the ejection, but that's got to be like a top 3, top 4, like the most upset I've seen Tatum on the basketball floor. So your question, Gary, I would ask the same thing. And then if you look at the replay from the TV broadcast, a lot of the exchange after he was ejected, no matter what you say, you're already done playing for the night, and players typically get their off, what they want to say, get it off their chest. I want to say Charles Lee's covering Tatum's face, so we couldn't make out what he was saying. And okay, if he wasn't swearing, that's fine. But he was hot, man. He was upset. He was livid. I'd even say it seemed like. And if he cooled off instantly when he got to the locker room, all right, maybe he did. But that doesn't. From what we saw, I'm asking the same thing. Just like
what'd you do? Did you throw stuff? Because it's not the frustration. Maybe you just like, man, I can't believe I got thrown out. What's going on here? What the hell?
Right.
Like, they can't do that to me. I'm Jayson Tatum. So for me, it was a question to ask, because you just wanted to. I just like, he doesn't get tossed. I think he got tossed last year in the preseason at Toronto. So he doesn't get tossed often. Right. So you want to see what I just wanted to kind of detail in terms of just writing about it, what his protocol was. That he's immediately shower? Did he eat? Did he sit there and call somebody? Hey man, you see what they did to me? You watch the game, or did he just sit? Did he stew? What happened? And so he just, when I asked, like, if he threw stuff, he was just like, hell no, I ain't throw nothing. I'm fine. I was good, So
I wasn't mad. I wasn't effing mad.
All right, you good, right? You
still sensitive to that stuff, Gary.
You ain't mad. You ain't mad. Like you sort of like, you ain't mad.
It's like when someone screams, "I'm not mad." It's like, are you sure, man?
You sure you good?
We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search. Match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. One of the things that I love about Indeed is that it makes hiring all in one place so easy, because that is what you are looking to do when you're looking to make a hire. You don't want to dilly-dally around with trying to go through candidates X, Y, Z, knowing that X is probably needs to be X and Y is the reason why you're doing this, and Z is just hanging out there. You want to be able to hire in a timely fashion, and Indeed is a great way of making that happen. One of the keys to Indeed is their ability to leverage over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, which allows Indeed to have the type of matching search engine that's constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. So listeners out there to this show, you'll get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/A-List. Just go to Indeed.com/A-List right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/A-List. Terms and conditions apply. You need to hire? You need Indeed.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing that we all have to kind of come back to with this. They won, and they still have the best record in the NBA as they go into, the knockout round of the in-season tournament. And we all know that whether you're talking NCAA, NBA, WNBA, whatever, there's usually a wild card player or two that for you to be the last team standing in whatever that format may be, steps up and emerges. And I'm just curious, Joseph, who's your wild card for the Celtics? If they're going to come out of the in-season tournament as the last team standing, who do you think is going to be that wild card guy? And Gary, I want you to answer the question after Josue does.
Man, that's a good question. See, I want to say like my go-to is, and I feel like he may not be a wild card anymore, but I'm going to go with Derek White. You know, I just feel like when the team is, a lot of times throughout the season, when the team is struggling or a lot of guys just don't have it, similar to what we saw, between Tatum and Brown, he stays consistent. You know what I mean? It's almost reminiscent of last year's Game 7 against the Heat. And I know Tatum was, he was already hurt and now out, throughout the whole game. But when no one else had it, he just kept doing what he needed to do. Nothing bothered him. And I think this is a great opportunity for him to show that again. A lot of the opposing defenses, they forget about him, even though he's still in the scouting reports and, the way other guys have been playing well. Just the makeup of this team is completely different, right? Drew Holiday and you have so many other guys. I feel like people forget about him. He's been consistent. He's been consistent throughout. So I'm going to go with Derek White.
What about you, G? I'm
going to go with a guy like Sam Hauser, hitting threes. Wide open threes. He's doing well. He's had a good season. He had a slow start. He's bounced back. And you could say also Peyton Pritchard, but I'm going to say Sam Hauser,
Yeah, I was thinking Pritchard too. I thought him too.
Pritchard's a guy, where he needs to hit the open three. But he's making plays. He's doing better. He's fitting more into what they're trying to do. And he seems more comfortable out there. But Hauser's a guy, I just think he's such a weapon because now you've got to guard him. You can't just leave him alone. And if you do, he's going to hit that high rainbow three. And I just think that's the good thing about the Celtics. And when you cultivate players and remember, they had Max Strus and they let him go. And I think they learned a lot from just letting Max Strus go. We don't have a shooter. Right. And so obviously it's taken almost with 2.5 years, half a season, he came and he didn't really contribute much. And then last year he was okay, but 43.7% from the three. I mean, that's outstanding, and even Peyton Pritchard got off to a slow start. It's up to 33%. That's not good, but it's better. Mm-hmm. And so I think that Hauser becomes that wild card, especially in high scoring games where you push the pace up, you lose them on defense. Oh man, there he is, wide open, bam, 3-pointer.
Yeah. Sam, the thing about Sam that I have kind of gotten a little bit greater appreciation for, aside from the shooting, obviously, but the work that he puts in before games and during games to be a solid defender. He's not locking anybody up. He knows that. Everyone knows that. But to see teams try to go at him, and to see him more times than not hold his own. Special shout out to assistant coach Tony Dobbins, who I know works with Sam a lot on his defensive positioning. Because again, he's not all up in your jersey. He just makes sure he keeps his ass between you and the rim. That's all he has to do. And at the other end of the floor, just knock down open shots, which he's been able to do at a fairly high clip this season. And again, that's playing to what his strengths are. But I wanted to
Sherrod,
go ahead, Joe.
No, I was going to say real quick, I feel like that's why he was in Missoula's doghouse last year. Remember that he would get beat constantly, especially in transition. He wouldn't get back in time, and Missoula wasn't having it. And once he fell out of that rotation for about, I want to say maybe 3 to 4 weeks or something like that, he just made that a point of emphasis. He made sure that he was going to work on that game, on that part of his game. Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, we'll be closing up fairly soon. This is the Big Three NBA podcast with Sherrod, Blakely, Gary Washburn, and our special guest today, Josue Pavon. Wanted to shift really quick to the team that the Celtics will be facing, and that is the Indiana Pacers. And obviously, Halliburton is the alpha. He's the one that makes that thing go. But besides him, who are some of the players or maybe even some of the issues that you're concerned with about that Indiana team? And Joseph, I wanted to start it off with you on that.
Well, I mean, like I said from the top, when we first, we're talking about the matchups, Buddy Hield has put together some incredible games, and he's put together some incredible duds. Like, I'm talking 7 3-pointers one night and then scoring 7 the next, you know what I mean? Like 0 for, or 1 for 6 from behind the arc, so when he's going from 3, it really does change this team's, the offense. He's not giving the Pacers a whole lot of other parts of what they need to win the game, maybe some rebounds here and there, giving them extra possessions. But I really do think that he's the difference maker. If he doesn't have it, I really don't see this Pacers team winning this game. I don't see how they have enough, offensive firepower to counter for what they lack on the defensive end of the floor.
Yeah. Gary?
I think, they average 127 points a game. So they put up the points. They have 8 players who score in average in double figures. So they got a lot of weapons. Now they don't have a lot of consistent, guys who are household names. Jalen Smith averages 10 points. Our friend Neesmith, 10 points off the bench. Bruce Brown, 11 points. Obi Toppin, forgot that he's there now as a starter. Obviously, he spent a couple of years on the New York Knicks. Benedict McThorne isn't, coming off a really good rookie season. They have a lot of guys who can score. And you just don't want not only Halliburton, but let's say Mathurin going for 30, or Hield hitting 7 threes, or Bruce Brown getting hot. Like, you got to contain a lot of those guys. And I think rebounding is also important too. Don't let them get a lot of second chance points. Use their size. So I just think there's a lot of dangers here for this game. A lot of things that could slip. The revenge factor after losing by 51 points in the first game. And a team that can shoot, that's not great, but, from three-point line, but effective enough. Halliburton's 45% from 3, so don't leave him alone. Hield, 40% from 3. So Neesmith, our friend, 44% from 3 this year. Remember they thought they got the Celtics thought they got their shooter with Aaron Neesmith, and he couldn't hit the side of a barn. And now he's coming into his own, signed an extension in Indiana, finally found a place that, had more patience. Because I just think there was kind of like, we trying to win right now. I think if the Celtics and Aaron, what you got for us? And he didn't have much besides, I play real hard on defense, but I can't hit the 3. So now to see him mature, probably, and I said beyond, let's be honest, some of these dudes just come out too early. And maybe Neesmith should have done another year at Vanderbilt. Maybe, got his, game and confidence together, but it's always that second team. Some of these guys find it. So if you're the Celtics, you got to beware of a lot of weapons.
Absolutely.
Indiana, I said, they're not all that great. They're not all that great defensively. They're a team that will, allow a lot of points, but they're also a team that will score a lot of points. And so what you don't want is 135, 127. They're last in the league in points allowed, 126. So you can shred their defense. They allow teams to shoot 45.8% from the field and 40% from 3. So the Celtics should have a field day.
That's coming.
The Celtics are 4th in points allowed. So the Celtics have the defense, right? And they allow opponents to shoot 40%. So you're talking about 2 different worlds here. A great defensive team in the Celtics, or a very good one, and a terrible one in Indiana, but an offense that's high-powered. So you don't want one of those, shootouts where, like you said, Josue, Buddy Hield goes for, 15, 5 threes in the fourth quarter, and you end up losing.
Absolutely. One of the wild cards I'm looking forward to seeing, and again, his impact won't necessarily show up in the stat sheet, obviously, but I feel pretty confident that you're going to know he's in the building, and that's head coach Rick Carlisle, someone I've known for a number of years. Rick is not taking that 50-point ass whooping lightly. I guarantee you they will be playing a much better game, and Rick Carlisle's imprint on their play is going to be something. I wouldn't be surprised if they deliver the best defensive game they have all season against the Celtics. Would not surprise me.
He better be playing that game nonstop in the locker room.
Yeah, exactly. And so I worry about that. But the one thing I don't worry about is, folks, check it out. the Big Three NBA podcast. And we are going to close things out here right now on that note. And again, before we head out, just another shout out to Indeed.com, HelloFresh, and FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of CLNS Media Network, where new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. Remember to download this latest episode of the Big Three NBA podcast from all your favorite podcast apps. For Gary Washburn, Josue, I am Sherrod Blakely. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you.